It's time for our next speaker. We will be welcoming Petra. Petra is coming from Conrad Electronic, which is a major electronics merchant in the DACH region, I would say. I don't know about other regions, so I will learn maybe something new on that one. Petra is about to tell us a little bit about how to create a streamlined AEM platform. AEM is our Adobe Experience Manager, the main content management product, as you learned this morning, which is mainly developed in Basel. So great to have you here. And let's welcome Petra for her 30 minutes of talk. So, kurze Musik.
Yep.
Petra, nice to have you.
Thank you.
The stage is yours. Enjoy.
Thanks for the introduction. Okay, so thanks for coming to the session. My name is Petra and I'm a product owner at Conrad Electronic. And after I submitted the title for the presentation, I kind of regretted it because I thought I should have named it How to Become an AEM Rockstar. It would have been a far catchier title. So if you're not familiar with Conrad, we are a big electronics retailer. We got started almost 100 years ago selling small radio parts. And now we have 3,500 employees. We have over €1 billion in sales, and we have 21 million customers worldwide. And we have still Mr. Conrad at the helm, so we are still a family business. You can see that our product portfolio started growing rapidly about 20 years ago. This is when we shifted our focus to the B2B market. And the last few years, we had huge growth. This was due to the introduction of the Conrad Marketplace. So actually about 85% of these 5 million products are not from Conrad, but are from marketplace sellers. And those sellers can offer their products within our shop platform. The marketplace is really one of our key initiatives for the future. We want to use this to help us expand our product offering and really to become a platform for products, services, and connectivity. And our goal is to have 10 million products by the end of the year. So you can imagine we need a platform that can sustain this kind of growth. So let's take a step back. A few years ago, when I started at Conrad, the marketplace was in its concept phase, and we had a shop that performed well. We have been one of the top 10 online shops in Germany for many years and provided a convenient omnichannel experience for our customers. And we had a pretty good conversion rate, especially for our B2B shop, which was a separate shop at that point. And then we also had separate mobile shops. So we didn't have a responsive site, and these mobile shops we also had in a B2B and a B2C version. And we had all of this for different countries. And the whole thing was already powered back then by AEM. But this was my life. The Conrad Commerce Platform had become a large system with a large development team. We had added features on top of features on top of features for many years, and it was really hard to work in parallel and to foresee possible side effects of changes. So we had all these dependencies because we were working on the same code base. And you can imagine that development times really slowed down and innovation suffered. So at that point, I realized we don't even have a rock band. We have an orchestra. And within this orchestra, as I mentioned, we were using AEM, but a lot of the e-commerce and business logic was tied up in AEM. It was customized with logic from the search and from the product detail page, cart, checkout, and all of these different e-commerce components. So we had a big monolith where everything was connected and dependent. And AEM at that point was really handcuffed. We were not able to use it to its full potential, and we were even scared to upgrade. So you can imagine this was not sustainable. And we realized we needed a more modular and leaner architecture. And then luckily at that time, we also got some new leadership. A new CDDO joined us, that is a Chief Digital and Disruption Officer. I think he was the only one in Germany with that title for a long time. He might still be. But just having that in the title already shows that this person was not there to keep the status quo, but he was there to rock the boat. And so, along with transforming the technology landscape, we also knew that we wanted autonomous teams with clearly defined products or modules. And so to enable a transformation like that, you need to have certain pillars. One, of course, is budget. You need to have the necessary financial backing because you have to maintain one system while building up a new system. And that, of course, costs money. You need support. Our CDDO actually has made the comparison a few times that a digital transformation is like swimming across a big lake. And oftentimes, you know, when you're like a little bit in, you really have the urge to turn around. It would be much easier to just go back to the old ways. And so it's important that you have somebody with you that, you know, maybe has a swim ring every once in a while or something you can hold on to. And so we had an agile coach that kind of kept us aligned throughout this journey. We also all received agile training. Common sense. A lot has been written about digital transformation. There are a lot of buzzwords like domain-driven design and the microservices and Scrum and Agile and all that. And so we realized that not everything that works in theory or that works in another company would work for us. For example, you know, the Spotify model with the squads and the chapters and the guilds, that works great for them, but we would not have been able to realize that. We just don't have the man or woman power for something like that. So we set up, in addition to these autonomous teams, we set up horizontal support, like, for example, analytics, conversion rate optimization, UI, UX, also operations. These teams support all the vertical teams. And then trust, because if you set up autonomous teams, if you give people autonomy, you have to trust them. You also have to let them make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and hopefully improve upon them. But yes, a certain error culture is involved in that as well. And so this is the setup that came out of this. You see all of these different e-commerce components are now set up as vertical teams. And then we have AEM kind of like as an umbrella up top. And so the goal was that these teams could work totally independently, and like a developer on the search team would only need to know the search team's code, plus the API of others. And then on top, the umbrella was responsible, of course, for the content management system, AEM, which was supposed to be used as a content management system now. And then also integrating all of these different single-page applications. So meaning we provide the frame, the header and the footer, the left and the right, and then integrated the search or the product detail page into that. And we also had to ensure that these single-page applications would talk to each other. So if somebody comes to a search page and they click on a product link, we have to make sure they end up on the product page. If they then put the product into the cart, we have to make sure that it ends up in the cart. And so this is how the ICE team, integration content experience, came to be. So now we had our band name, we kind of had our purpose. And the next question was, what do our fans want? So we realized we have two different fans. We have the customer or the end user as a fan. And for those guys, we tried to do various things like, for example, A/B testing. We wanted to A/B test some critical questions because, we didn't have a whole lot of resources. We were setting up this other system, so we kind of had limited capacity. But in this example, we wanted to make sure that it would not hurt us to ask the customer if he was a B2B or B2C customer, because we wanted to show them appropriate pricing, like with or without tax, and appropriate content. And every conversion rate optimizer will tell you that each additional click or each pop-up will harm your conversion rate and will increase your bounce rate. So that is one example of an A/B test we did, and we are asking the customer nowadays if they are B2B or B2C. We also created personas. Here are the maintenance, repair, and operations specialist, because it was important for us to understand a little better who are these B2B customers. It's hard for a lot of people in the e-commerce department or in the marketing department to relate to that. We used a user story mapping to map the customer journey. We did wireframes, especially to ensure technical feasibility. And we also had click dummies where we asked B2B customers to complete certain tasks and to think out loud while completing them, just so we could ensure that they were able to do those efficiently and effectively and without frustration. But then we also had our content authors as fans. So those guys are our customers as well. And in a first step, we wanted to find out, because I mentioned we were already using AEM, how are they using AEM now? Like, who is using it? Why are they using it? When are they using it? What do they like? What would they change if they could? So we pulled all of the users, which were approximately 500, and we sent them a survey just to gain some perspective. And then with some of our power users, we invited them for interviews. And these interviews, they were part history lesson and part counseling session. History lesson because you learn so much about things that have always been done a certain way, and they always need to be done a certain way. And counseling session because they knew that change was coming, and change always causes a certain fear or frustration. I just learned this system and now you're taking it away from me. So, but we had some common themes emerge from this. On the one hand, we knew that the slowness and the bugginess, we would fix that by taking all of the logic out. So that would be taken care of. But then it was also perceived as not search engine optimization friendly. We had a personalization feature that was highly customized, and only the guy who had all these requests was able to use it. Nobody else understood it. And then we found out that they really want scheduling. That was important for them. They wanted to have a different personalization or targeting feature that everybody would be able to use. And they wanted to share content between countries. And then the biggest theme was really that there were too many components and people were just completely confused. Like, what are these components for? How should I use them? I mentioned the mobile and the desktop shops earlier, so of course we had different components for the different shops. So it was just a mess. And we knew, okay, we need to simplify. We need to reduce the number of components. We need to use core components. And we need to streamline those components as much as possible. Because our objective was to build a great customer experience for our content authors so that they could then build a great customer experience for our end users. And we also established a working group in this process, where we worked with various stakeholders and content authors and asked them to provide us support and feedback throughout the whole development process. Because it was important for us that we would get consent from all sides to enable this change. So now we had the band name, we had our purpose, we kind of knew what would please our fans. Now it was time to get the band together. So this is a picture of the ICE team. It is one of our few face-to-face meetings. We are usually a remote team working in many different locations, and we have some internal and a lot of external developers on the team. And most of these external developers are from Netcentric. And these are just really valuable team members because they have such deep knowledge of AEM. They also have a big network back at Netcentric where they can share best practices, and they can also kind of, recognize patterns and help each other with solutions. And this is just really critical because you want to be able to strip all that author input from the history and from the emotions to get to the essence, and to then build a product that is easy to use yet powerful. So it was about simplification again. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. One of the principles of agile software development. And this unnecessary work is best recognized by a team of experts with knowledge and experience. The more points of view you have, the bigger the picture will become for the team. And speaking of big picture, it was also really important for us to have the architect integrated into the team and working as part of the team. And in the time period before the launch, we also had operations integrated into the day-to-day workings of the team. Because how do you want to play music and entertain your audience if your sound system isn't working, or if your volume levels are not aligned correctly? So we had to ensure that this would all be coming together and working properly. And so our band manifesto was build projects around motivated individuals, give them the environment and support they need, and trust them to get the job done. Another one of the principles of agile software development. Because this sense of ownership is really, really powerful. And there is a lot of pride in lending your expertise to build a great product. Okay, we had the band name, the purpose. We knew approximately what would please our fans. We had our band put together. Now the question was, how do we get out there? So we did what every good band does. We made a demo. A demo in our case was that we wanted to demonstrate how to integrate one of those single-page applications into the shop. That was, of course, the old system back then. And so we needed to pick one of these, e-commerce components as a demo piece, as a pilot. And of course, we wanted to find something that was super low risk and high value, which unfortunately never happens. But you probably don't want to, pilot the checkout or something like that, because that would be bad if that doesn't work. So we decided on the search engine result page as our demo piece. With over 7 million search requests per month, it is our most important salesperson. The search is also very visible at Conrad and highly contentious. And so we knew that it definitely was meaningful and that we would be getting a lot of feedback. And so to collect feedback, we implemented a mechanism where we would get just feedback on a scale, but then also specific feedback because customers could leave comments. And just one example of one important learning that we gained from this was that it was super important for our customers that they would be able to open up the product detail page in a new tab from the search page. That wasn't possible within that pilot. And remember, we need to ensure that they talk to each other appropriately, these single-page applications. So that was definitely one of the things that we had to fix. And then the next thing was we wanted to play a gig after the demo. So after a little more development time, we decided that now it was the time to invite our customers to take a sneak peek of the shop. So if you went to the Conrad shop, the old one, you saw an invitation, a link to go to the new shop and check it out. You could complete your whole shopping process there and provide input again. And so same thing, we collected feedback on a scale and also with comments, had a few more learnings, fixed a few more bugs, and then it was time to play a bigger gig. So this was not just by invitation only anymore, but now we wanted a big audience. So we invited Austria to go first. And after we launched Austria and everything went pretty well, we were able to launch Germany and Switzerland 2 days later. So now it was time to party like a rock star. We were able to increase our productivity. On the one hand, we had now a responsive shop. We also had one shop for B2B and B2C customers, so we didn't have all these different shops anymore that we had to maintain, but it was one. We were also able to create a sense of ownership. Not just ownership from the development team, but also ownership from the content authors, because we really made them a part of the process and included them early on. And we're now able to use AEM to its full potential. So we're using personalization and targeting to show appropriate content. We are also using multi-site management, so the countries can actually share content with each other and roll out content from one country to another. Growth. We were able to reduce website downtime. So the times when the site had any kind of issue, we were able to reduce that by half. And the times where ordering wasn't possible, we were able to reduce that by 2/3. Also, we set up a fast and stable environment. Average paid load time across the average of all pages improved by 40%. The home page, for example, we were able to improve from 9 seconds to 3 seconds. And then conversion rate. We were able to improve our direct traffic conversion rate by over 20%. And for mobile, for example, even by over 50%. And so, we were just able to work a lot more customer-driven. And then innovation. We had our customized tech stack. Our teams were able to develop independently from each other. And they were also able to deploy independently from each other. So we didn't have to wait anymore, but now we could really push out our features in a much more timely manner. And that also allowed us to focus on continuous optimization and just improve our shop on a continuous basis. But of course, we also have some lessons learned. Inspect and adapt. This is a long process. We are also not done with it. And you continuously need to take the time to, take a step back, to look at everything, to be honest with yourself and with the team, and to try new things out. Present problems, not solutions. So if you if you have a certain issue and then you tell your team how you want to have it solved, you will probably not get the best outcome. But if you actually share the problem with the team and then the team can work together and come up with the best solution, it's much more valuable. I mentioned common sense earlier. The challenge with common sense is that everybody has it and everybody has plenty of it, but it doesn't always align. And so it takes a lot of time to kind of get people aligned. It's also if you have data that is helpful, but otherwise people are hard. You always have your unconscious biases, you always have your hippos, your highly paid person's opinion. And so this is a tough one. And then there is no silver bullet. As I mentioned earlier, we are not done with this change. It's still ongoing. But some of the things, we still have some dependencies between the teams as well. For example, our checkout team and our user team, there is still, a lot of that stuff is still intertwined, and we're still working on that. And we also have challenges with layout consistencies now that we have these different teams. And of course, we have a style guide, but it's only a design style guide. And so sometimes it's hard to ensure that everything looks alike. But most importantly, it's good to play in a band and not in an orchestra. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra, for your interesting talk. It was very, very meaningful to me. So great to see that there is no silver bullet.
Yep.
But also to see that you have been successful in your endeavors so far by rethinking the way to work. Yep. and to implement change. Yep. Right. So I feel that you have been a major part of this, not only the CDDDDDDO.
Well, the whole team, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's a team effort.
Yeah, yes. Definitely.
Okay, we still have a little bit of time left, so if you have any questions, shoot. Be brave.
Yes. On what basis did you personalize?
So our first step was that we wanted to personalize for B2B and P2C customers. Because as I mentioned before, we had two different shops. Now we had one shop, and we wanted to make sure that we would show appropriate content. But we, of course, now want to take it, a step further, because that's not really personalization, that is more segmentation. So then, we want to segment for our different customer groups, like the maintenance, repair, operations specialist, and so on. But we also have a big initiative starting where we really want to personalize for the person. So, if you come to the shop and we recognize that you have been there before, then we want to show you accessories to products that you bought before, or if there's a certain product range that you buy, we want to offer you more of that type of product.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you develop your segmentation and personalization solution yourself, or did you use, something?
It's the Adobe, it's based on the Adobe personalization feature that comes with an AEM.
Like with AM 6.3?
Yeah, we are on 6.5 now, but 6.3, yeah. We are now able to upgrade, yay!
Very good.
What do you mean about continuous delivery? What is your interval of continuous delivery of releases?
Yeah, that really depends on the team. So the team can decide themselves how they want to do that. In the ICE team, we have 2 weeks and 2-week sprints, and then at the end of the 2-week sprint, we deploy, and the whole thing starts over again. So 2-week cycle for us, but a lot of teams have also 1 week. So we have those two, for the most part, 1 week or 2 weeks.
Up to production?
Yes, to production, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's your base software? In which system you work? Like SAP
So I would almost say, and our architect is actually sitting right there, so help me if I'm saying the wrong thing. But so our base is almost AEM, and then all of these different components are like, you know, microservices that we integrate. Does that answer your question? Okay. Maybe we can talk later again, or yeah.
I'm curious to understand if you have done any usability tests with external participation.
So yes, we have kind of, this, you know, was very much a hands-on effort, and so we tried to recruit our B2B customers as much as possible. So we were not working with an external usability agency or vendor, but we have a big department at Conrad that works with these B2B customers, and so we kind of either, you know, try to sneak in a question when they call their customers anyways, or if it's something like the click dummies earlier, that is when we definitely, you know, asked the B2B customer if we could come to their office, and then it was like a half-day session to get feedback from them.
Have you done this on a regular basis or just?
So this was mostly during that phase of the relaunch and setting up the new platform, and we are still trying to do it, but it is pretty difficult to get these B2B customers, especially for half a day. So, you know, we're still trying to get it done, but it's a challenge.
Okay. Last question. Shoot.
Which data do you use for personalization, and what data do you collect? Is it just the customer profile from the store, or do you use other data?
So we have, of course, also a big data platform. And I honestly couldn't tell you all the data that is collected there and where it all comes from. But definitely the personalization feature works, you know, with a connection to that big data platform. And then, I mean, we have the purchase history in there and things like that.
So thank you for all of your questions. You may have more, so I would
also available.
Yes, so
later.
I would offer Petra to be outside and take something to drink, because speaking all the time makes the throat dry. And enjoy your day. Enjoy the next sessions. Thank you for attending. Thank you again, Petra.
Thanks.